I can still clearly recall the sound of a suitcase zipper tearing through the air as my entire world fell apart. As she packed, the aroma of her designer perfume lingered, drowning out the clinking of pricey jewelry. Where I stood, the place, where we used to laugh and whisper our vows, had become a battlefield. Victoria was abandoning me, outnumbered, outclassed, and completely disposable. When I folded clothing, my hands worked mechanically, efficiently. I had once removed hers with such tenderness, without hesitation, doubting only the icy, merciless accuracy of someone who had already made up their mind before they said the words. "This isn't working anymore, Nathan," she remarked aloud, her voice sharp. I swallowed hard, no longer feeling the warmth that once reassured me I could do this. I tensed, searching for the right words, but my thoughts were a flurry of conflicting emotions. For my wife, the woman who once whispered in the middle of the night that I was her home. And now she was leaving. Not because I had cheated, not because I had hurt her, but because I should have seen this coming. Her family had told her I wasn't good enough. Maybe I just didn't want to believe that Eleanor could control the woman I loved so easily. Whitmore, the family's matriarch, exuded wealth and authority the way most people breathed. She stood in the doorway, arms folded across her expensive silk blouse, watching the scene unfold with a thin, satisfied smile. "You should have known better, Nathan," Eleanor's voice dripped with practiced arrogance. "Did you really think she would stay with someone who doesn't have a name worth mentioning?" I clenched my fists. "I'm not nothing. You have no fortune, no connections, no legacy." She gestured at the penthouse as if dismissing it as a temporary distraction for Victoria. Victoria winced at her mother's words. But instead of defending me, instead of arguing, instead of standing up for us, she hesitated. That hesitation was a blade to my chest, a slow, painful realization that she wasn't just walking away. She had already made up her mind. "You don't understand, Nathan," she whispered. She said it like she was the one in pain, and I snapped. "Understand? Victoria, help me understand." My voice was raw. "Because last I checked, we made vows. We built a life together. We fought for this." She exhaled and closed her eyes before whispering, "You're throwing it all away because your mother thinks I'm not good enough. Nathan, you never were." The words hit harder than any punch I'd ever taken. She folded her arms across her chest, as though shielding herself. "It's not just me, Nathan. My father, my brother, my entire family is disappointed. You'll never be accepted." She bit her lip, hesitated, then whispered, "I can't fight them anymore." That was the final straw. I looked at the woman I once believed would stand by me through anything, and suddenly I realized she was never ready to fight for me. Eleanor stepped forward, victory glinting in her eyes. "You should leave now." I turned to Victoria one last time. "Tell me," I said, my voice low. "Tell me you don't love me anymore, and I'll go." She parted her lips, but no words came. Her throat bobbed. As I thought, the silence between us was thick, oppressive. Finally, she exhaled. "This isn't about love," she whispered. It was about reality. Her reality was one of wealth, power, and prestige. Mine was struggle, hard work, and the foolish belief that love was enough to bridge the gap between our worlds. I reached into my pocket. My fingers curled around my wedding ring. It felt heavier than ever, as if it had absorbed the weight of my shattered hopes. I pulled it out, placed it on the marble counter. The metallic clink echoed through the room. "I hope it was worth it," I said, voice calm. Victoria's eyes flickered, remorse, sadness, guilt. But it was too late. I grabbed my jacket, walked past Eleanor without sparing her a glance. Her perfume clung to the air, sweet, intoxicating. But all I could smell was betrayal. "Goodbye, Nathan." Victoria's voice was soft. I didn't turn around. I walked out of the penthouse into the cold night air, standing there for a long moment, taking it all in. I had walked into that building as a husband, a believer, a fool. I was walking out as a man who had lost everything. And yet, beneath the heartbreak, beneath the humiliation, something else stirred. A dangerous fire igniting in my chest. A promise. That one day I would be the man they underestimated. One day, my name would be spoken with respect, with admiration. One day, I would rise. And when our paths inevitably crossed again, I wouldn't need revenge. I would simply smile. Because rock bottom isn't a moment. It's a choice. And I was choosing to climb. Corporate networking event of the year. And I accepted the invitation from the Whitmore Group, which, guess what? Not out of retaliation or spite, but because I wanted them to see it right away. Me, precisely as I was on the night of the event. The man they dumped, now standing at the top of the industry, without them. I entered the Whitmore International Hotel's grand ballroom wearing a custom-tailored suit that I purchased. I wasn't simply paying for this event with my own money. I was also a guest speaker, networking with investors and CEOs. I sensed that Eleanor Whitmore and Victoria were watching me. I turned to face her across the room, and she appeared older, more wary. She didn't approach, didn't grin, because for the first time, I wasn't beneath her. Instead, I was out of her grasp. I made sure to gaze straight at her table as I spoke that evening, saying, "Success isn't about where you start. It's about innovation, resilience, and demonstrating that no one." The loud applause demonstrated that even the so-called elite don't define your value. Victoria simply sat there while Eleanor glanced away, pressing her lips into a thin line. As I left the podium, I passed them. But I wasn't the man they rejected. I was the man they could never ignore again. I had accomplished the impossible, not with retaliation, not with hatred, but with success. And as I walked out of the gala with a proud smile, I realized I didn't need their approval. I didn't need their acceptance because I had created something superior to them, and that was the true victory. Because sometimes the finest form of revenge is simply proving them wrong. It changes how people perceive you. More importantly, how they treat you. The same doors that were slammed in your face, they're being reopened. The same people who once rejected you, now they want you. And sometimes, those who left, they try to find their way back. So it was inevitable that I would see Victoria again. 1 week after the business summit, Marcus practically coerced me into attending a VIP investor networking event. "You have to start rubbing shoulders with the real power players," he said. So, I went. A sleek, high-rise penthouse overlooking the downtown skyline. The room was packed. Fine suits. Servers carrying crystal glasses of champagne, the air charged with wealth and influence. And then, I heard a voice behind me. I turned. Victoria. She looked the same. Polished, sophisticated. But there was something else, a hesitation. As if, for the first time, she wasn't entirely sure of herself. She said my name. Nathan. As if she needed to confirm that I was actually standing there. I took a sip of my drink, maintaining a neutral expression. "Victoria," I greeted, my voice steady. Her fingers tightened slightly around the strap of her designer purse. "I didn't think I'd see you here," she said, voice softer than I remembered. I smiled. Slowly. Deliberately. Funny. I was thinking the same thing. But I figured it would happen eventually. Her brow furrowed. Just slightly. I stepped closer, lowering my voice just enough. "I knew you'd come looking," she exhaled sharply. "Nathan, I cut in smoothly. No, I don't think so. Her jaw tensed. I tilted my head, watching her closely. You told me a year ago that you wanted nothing to do with me. And then you left. She bit her lip, looking away. But now she was here. I made a mistake, she admitted. I let the words linger. Let them sit. I wasn't going to make this easy for her. When I didn't answer, she sighed, stepping closer. I thought I was doing what was best for my family, I laughed. A quiet, bitter sound. Your family? I shook my head. The same. Family that told you I was nothing? She flinched. I didn't. They blacklisted me. They erased me. And you let them. She swallowed. Don't, I interrupted, my voice calm. Victoria, for the first time, looked lost. I really did love you, she whispered. I nodded. And yet, it didn't matter. Her lips parted, but she didn't speak, because she had no leverage, no control, no second chance. She had lost me. Permanently. I leaned in, my voice quiet but firm. You know what's funny? A year ago, I would have given anything to hear you say that. But now, I smiled. I don't care. Her breath hitched. She stared at me as if seeing me for the first time. This moment wasn't about revenge, not about anger. It was about clarity, the kind that only comes when you finally stop wanting what once destroyed. You. Her voice was barely above a whisper. You think we could have a second chance? I acted as if I was considering it. Then I shook my head. No, she inhaled sharply. I chuckled. No, Victoria, not like this. I gestured to the glittering ballroom. The event, the life I built. Without her. The man you left behind? The one you thought wasn't good enough? I met her gaze. That man doesn't exist anymore. She opened her mouth, closed it. Because she understood I had outgrown her. I smiled. Take care, Victoria. And then I walked away. Because I could. Not because I had to. And that was when I realized I wasn't just free of her. I was above her. And for the rest of her life, she would always remember what she lost. Because the greatest revenge isn't proving them wrong. It's proving that you never needed them in the first place.